2 here on BNC Sports Network. I'm Max Calderon, this is Chris Beasley, and today we've got a bunch to talk about, including some NFL running back news, Marshawn Lynch coming back to Oakland, and Adrian Peterson headed out to NOLA. We'll give you updates on the NBA and NHL playoffs, as well as some injury news across a couple of sports. There's plenty of relevant headlines in the world of Baylor athletics to discuss today, and of course, we'll get into that Red Sox and Orioles drama, as well as the controversial ESPN fire sale. So Chris, what do you say we get this thing started?
Let's do it, Max.
Here we go with puck drop. Number one, the first round of the NFL draft was last night, but we actually filmed this video just a few hours before it actually aired. So you guys will know the answer to this question, but Chris, who's going first overall tonight?
You know, Max, the first guy off the board tonight is going to be Myles Garrett. There's no other option. The Browns, they need help on defense, and they pick again at 12. Don't be surprised if a trade happens before they pick again, because they have enough picks to go back into the top 10 without really hurting themselves. So Garrett's going to be the first guy off the board, and if for some reason the Browns pick a quarterback, that's a very poor decision on their part.
Be a typical Browns move.
Yeah.
We're going to stay on the same topic here, Chris. I want to get your take on what Warren Sapp said about Myles Garrett and his work ethic. Sapp, of course, the former Pro Bowl defensive lineman, he called Myles Garrett lazy and sees a guy who only makes maybe 4 plays a game. Thoughts?
So, other than Warren Sapp's comments about Myles Garrett, I've heard nothing but the best. Sure, he might only make 4 plays a game, but there's reasons for that. As you and I saw last year with Sean Oakman, kind of the same guy, two extremely good athletes, and they're, a freak on the defensive side of the ball. So these coaches are going to scheme away from him and try and make sure they can make the least amount of plays they possibly can. And I think Myles Garrett is another example of that, because let's be real, the past 2 years in the SEC, he's been a dominant force that a lot of teams don't know how to play against. So if I'm a coach, I'm going to make sure wherever Myles Garrett is, I'm running every play I have away from number 15. And sure, he might only make 4 plays a game, but that's all going to be based on out of how many times did they actually go to his side of the field.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so last Sunday, superstar Lionel Messi scored his 500th goal for Barcelona, leading them to a 3-2 victory over Real Madrid in the latest installment of El Clasico. Max, do you think Messi is better than Ronaldo?
I think these two, both at the top of their game, undeniably the biggest superstars, maybe in all of sports, and definitely the most dominant athletes in their respective sport. Going head-to-head, it's so close between the two of them. I've got a couple stats pulled up here. Internationally, Messi's only got 58 goals to Ronaldo's 71, but all-time in club, Ronaldo still has the edge, 518 to 502. I like Messi's versatility. I think he's a little bit quicker. I think he can dribble a little bit more with the ball. Ronaldo obviously got a powerful leg.
Yeah, he does.
They're both ridiculous athletes. Personally, I like Messi a little bit more, but really, flip a coin. These two are just incredible.
They are two amazing soccer players, and they always give the fans what they want to see.
Absolutely.
All right, let's get into some injury talk. Last week, San Francisco Giants pitcher Madison Bumgarner was placed on the disabled list for the first time in his career after an off-day dirt bike incident left him with a sprained AC joint in his throwing shoulder and bruised ribs. Does this set the Giants back too far and maybe out of the contention in the NL West?
Chris, I think it does. Bumgarner's going to be out for about 2 months with that injury. First trip to the DL in his career, which is just new territory for him. And I know it's early in the season. We're only about 3 weeks of the way through. But the Giants are currently last in the NL West, even behind the Padres. They've got an 8-14 record, and then they're 24th in team ERA at 4.3, which is astronomical. And losing their ace, Madison Bumgarner, is going to only make that number go up. As for the offense, they're not clicking. They're hitting .233 as a team. They're 29th in home runs in all of the bigs. They've only hit 15, and they've only scored 76 runs. So in a division with the really talented Los Angeles Dodgers and then 2 hot teams out of the gate, the Diamondbacks and the Rockies, who are both scoring a ton of runs, it's going to be tough for the Giants without their superstar ace to really gain any ground and try and make a playoff push this year.
I just want to know why would Baumgartner do this? It's, as you said, 3rd week of the season. Why is he going to go, ride dirt bikes? And I mean, that's just a huge risk that if I'm him, I wouldn't be willing to take, because other than him, he's really the only guy that they have to pitch for the Giants. So that's, I think, a poor decision on his behalf.
And speaking of injuries, a few for you in the NBA. Golden State Warriors head coach Steve Kerr still dealing with some complications from back surgery that's giving him some headaches and dizziness. And Los Angeles Clippers forward Blake Griffin is now out for the remainder of the postseason with a foot injury. What do each of these guys mean for their respective teams?
Well, with Steve Kerr being out, I don't see it as, a big deal. They played well without him last year when he had this surgery, and I believe Luke Walton. I know Luke Walton's with the Lakers now, but he was still able to coach them to win a ton of games. I believe he won Coach of the Month off of that. So I'm not too concerned about him sitting out for a few games, just because it's Steve Kerr. He's running a well-oiled organization over there. All those coaches, I think, at this point know how to coach, how he wants the team to play, and I honestly think that the players, with him not being there, the players, they might want to play a little harder and be like, hey, let's do this for Steve, because really I think all of them, really enjoy Steve being around, and with him not there, I think, some of them really want to go out and play as well as they can to make sure that they can keep playing games, and hopefully he can come back and coach later on in the season. Now Blake Griffin, on the other hand, if I'm the Clippers, go ahead and get him off my payroll. Because what is this? Is this the second or third year where he's gone out early?
Yeah, second year in a row for the Clippers with Griffin's injury, and third year in a row that they're dealing with another injury in the postseason.
Yeah, so when he's healthy, he's one of the best power forwards in the game. But here's the problem: he can't stay healthy. I think he missed 20-something games this year before this injury, and how are you supposed to build a franchise around a guy who can't play when it really matters? So if I'm the Clippers, I'm going to go ahead and move on, and sorry for Blake Griffin, but he's going to have to figure it out somewhere else. All right, to wrap things up here in the puck drop, we saw some fireworks in the last series between the Red Sox and the Orioles. Orioles third baseman Manny Machado slid in hard at second base, injuring the second baseman Dustin Pedroia in the 8th inning in the final game of the series. Boston reliever Matt Barnes appeared to intentionally throw at Machado, resulting in immediate ejection. Max, make some sense out of all this conflict. Was Barnes in the right to throw at Machado?
I think there's two sides to this argument. Barnes might have been on the right side of the argument to intentionally throw at Machado, but he threw it his head, which is just an absolute no-no in baseball, especially with a superstar like Machado. Pedroia said that he didn't think Machado's slide was out of line. In fact, he said, quote, "I've turned the best double play in the major leagues for 11 years. I don't need an effing rule. Let's be honest, the rules are relevant. The rules for people with bad footwork, and that's it." So, Pedroia didn't take exception to the slide, didn't think there was any need for retaliation. His bullpen took it upon themselves to throw at Machado, and you saw in that back and forth exchange with Machado on deck in his next plate appearance, Pedroia said, "Hey, that wasn't me, that was on them. You know better than that. That's not how we're supposed to handle things." This came a couple days later, a couple at-bats later, which if you've got an issue, throw at a guy, hit him in the leg next time he's at the plate. Things are over with.
Yeah.
But now you've got a conflict that's going to extend throughout the rest of the season. These teams have 14 more games against each other. Who knows? This could end up getting somebody hurt, and it's just a dangerous situation now.
Yeah, it's a sad, sad deal.
All right, now it's time to move on to free throws.
Got it.
Kris, why don't you start us off with some NFL running back news?
Well, guys, as we found out in the past few days, Adrian Peterson is headed to New Orleans. AP in New Orleans is a decision that I don't really understand. Peterson is on the wrong side of 30. He just turned 32 last month. He's going to the Saints, who have a mediocre offensive line at best. I believe Jari Evans just signed somewhere else on Wednesday, and he was arguably their best offensive lineman. What I don't understand is, why did Peterson want to go to a team that was 7-9 last year? They're not on the brink of playoffs, because as we know, the NFC South is getting stronger. Why did he decide to go here when he had an offer from the Patriots, which he could have gone there and potentially won his first Super Bowl ring? Props to New Orleans for getting the active league leading passer in yards and touchdowns and the active league leading rusher in yards and touchdowns. But, I really don't think that this is going to benefit New Orleans very well. You're now taking away from Mark Ingram, who had a career year last year, should have made the Pro Bowl. He rushed for 1,400 yards. He didn't rush for 1,400 yards. He had 1,400 total yards and 10 total touchdowns. That's pretty good. And granted, he split time with a few other, decent backs. But now with him and AP, Sean Payton, man, he's got a tough deal to try and figure out how to split carries between those two guys. And Marshawn Lynch, he's back. He's going to finish up his career in Oakland. And I tell you what, I am so excited. And I think the Raiders are a contender in the AFC West. All right, Max. As we know, yesterday ESPN had a huge fire sale. You want to give us a little talk on that?
Yeah, so very sad day in the world of ESPN. About 100 employees were laid off due to the decline in budget because of some outrageous media deals they've got with professional leagues like the NBA. So some of the biggest names in all of sports coverage that you guys may have heard of are without a job. I'm going to go ahead and read some off to you. You have reporter Britt McHenry, college basketball reporter Andy Katz, MLB analyst Raul Ibanez, Dallas Braden, and Doug Glanville, SportsCenter anchors Jade McCarthy, Chris Hassel, and Jay Crawford, college football commentator Dr. Jerry Punch, legal analyst Roger Kosick, NFL analyst Trent Dilfer, NFL reporter Ed Warder, Big 12 reporter Max Olson, MLB writer Jason Stark, and radio host Danny Cannell. So definitely some familiar names that you're no longer going to be seeing on ESPN. But this is a channel that I haven't watched very often lately, especially in the past couple of years. They've kind of made it more about the personality rather than the actual sports coverage. When you get home and you've missed what's going on in the world of sports and you're a big sports fan, you just want the highlights. You just want the facts. Just give it to me straight. And instead, they've got all these big personalities and they've got different shows and different segments, and it's too media related. I feel like they're changing to try and accompany to that social media form in the world that we're seeing today. And ESPN has definitely seen better times. ESPN is just not the superpower that it used to be, and this decline and bloodbath was kind of in the works for a little while now.
Yeah, I mean, I've been watching ESPN almost on the daily for probably the past 5 years. Love sports, so that's the channel I always go to. And, over the past 5 years, you can definitely see a decline in the quality of the stuff that they're putting on ESPN. I like back in the days where it was just, hey, here are the highlights, here's our input on some topics. But, now it's everybody gets their own show, everybody gets to kind of do their own thing, and I think it's just really taken away from what ESPN originally started doing. All right, we're going to round third. Let's talk about some off-the-field headlines. Cleveland Browns Pro Bowl left tackle Joe Thomas said this morning that he's willing to accept the risks of playing in the NFL, though he is already starting to see some memory loss. Props to Joe Thomas for staying in Cleveland for as long as he has, because that's already a risk. Second, I don't know that it's worth it. I mean, my dad played college football at a D2 school in South Texas. And, I was at dinner with him and some of his buddies over Super Bowl weekend, and they were all talking about it. They were all saying that, they definitely feel some of the damage, and they stopped playing in college. And, I know technology, helmets have gotten better, and, the overall safety of the sport is apparently getting safer. We don't know if that's actually true.
Attempting.
Yeah. But I don't think it's worth it. I mean, I think Joe Thomas has been in the league for almost 10 years, maybe even more. And if he's already starting to see some memory loss, dude, you should just hang it up, because at the end of the day, it's not about what you do on the field. It's about your life after and your family and everything else. So if he's already getting this banged up and seeing signs of memory loss, I think it's time to just cut it and go ahead and start living your retirement life.
As for the world of baseball, a group including Jeb Bush and Derek Jeter have submitted the highest bid to purchase the Miami Marlins at $1.3 billion. We're still waiting to see if that will materialize into anything official, but it looks like big things are about to happen in South Beach. On the field, two rookies made their MLB debut this week for the Pittsburgh Pirates. Pitcher Dovydas Neverauskas became the first Latvian-born player to reach the bigs, and infielder Gift Ingepe became the first African-born player to play in the major leagues. I got those names right.
Yeah, you did. I was about to say, try saying that first one 3 times in a row.
Pretty special stuff for those guys. Congratulations to them. Big stuff from the Pirates.
Dude, I think the Pirates are going to be pretty solid. I was watching a little clip on the second guy you said, Magope, and I mean, he could be pretty good. It'd be cool to see him excel in the league. Let's go ahead and wrap things up now. It's the 4th down.
4th and 1 from just across midfield.
And here's what's coming up in the world of sports this weekend. The Chicago Cubs are traveling to Boston this weekend for a 3-game set against the Red Sox. You can see them on Sunday night on ESPN at 8 p.m. Eastern.
Going to be a fun one, Chris. 2 legendary MLB franchises at the top of their games going head-to-head all weekend. Got to root for my boys, Chicago Cubs.
Well, if you're going to root for the Cubs, I'm just going to go ahead and root for the Red Sox. Because, got to have a little controversy in here.
That's fair. Got a bunch of Game 6s coming up in the NBA. Celtics, Bulls, Wizards, Hawks, and Jazz and Clippers all set to tip off today, April 28th.
The Celtics, Wizards, and Jazz are holding a 3-2 series lead, looking to cap it off tonight. Also, the Raptors and Bucks played Game 6 last night, as did the Spurs and Grizzlies. You guys already know the results, but we don't. Could be seeing some Game 7s. You know what? I'm really pulling for the Jazz, man. I really want to see the Jazz advance, even though I know they're going to get stomped by Golden State. But
it would be fun to see a team.
It would be fun to see.
Don't normally see in the playoffs do well.
Yeah. All right, second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs is beginning this weekend. Max, why don't you give us your predictions for the 4 series?
So, I'm not the biggest hockey buff, but I'll go ahead and take the Pittsburgh Penguins over the Washington Capitals in the premier Eastern Conference matchup. Alex Ovechkin, Sidney Crosby going at it. Going to be fun. Next, I'll go with the New York Rangers over the Ottawa Senators because they've got that great goalie, Henrik Lundqvist. In the West, I'll take the Anaheim Ducks over the Oilers. Don't know too much about Edmonton other than that they're young and very talented, but the Ducks are always in it, so they've got experience on their side. And lastly, I'll take the red-hot Nashville Predators to cool off the St. Louis Blues. And now, as always, to end our show, the final part of our 4th down segment, it's time for your Taste of Baylor. Chris, give me some brief thoughts on our spring football game and then the Bears landing Tennessee transfer Jalen Hurd.
So, the spring game, it had its ups and downs. I will say the 2 biggest takeaways from the spring game, watch out for Charlie Brewer.
Absolutely.
He's an early enrollee freshman. He played great on Saturday. I mean, the kid's got a cannon. He can move around in the pocket. I think, not this year because we have a new Solomon and Zach Smith, but I think next year he could be the number 1 guy. And the second positive of the game, Ish Wainwright. He had been in football pads for a week. First time he put the pads on since his freshman year of high school. He had 3 passes thrown his way, caught one of them for a touchdown. And you know what? It was great to see the Baylor small forward get on the field and catch a touchdown pass in his first time since his high school days.
Definitely a fun moment out there at McLean Stadium, rooting for our buddy Ish this season. And while you were at the spring game last Saturday, I was up in Fort Worth watching our baseball team destroy the Horned Frogs 16-5. Unfortunately, that was their only W from the weekend series, but currently the Baylor baseball team is sitting at a 25-16 record with a win Tuesday night against Texas State, and now they're headed up to Lawrence, Kansas to take on the Jayhawks and what I think could be a potential sweep for Baylor. It's a key series to watch as we inch closer to the NCAA tournament time. Bears hovering right around that 30-win mark. Going to be a tough one for them.
Well, hopefully they can get the sweep, and I'd love to see us make it to the baseball tournament.
That's going to do it for us here on episode 2 of BNC Sports Network. Be sure to leave this video a big thumbs up. Leave a comment below. Hit that subscribe button. And be sure to stay tuned with us on social media. Our next video will be out next Friday, May 5th. And until then, we'll see you guys next time.
See you guys.